I think you can tell from that shot that the Greek Freak's just let himself go in the offseason, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The reigning MVP leads the Milwaukee Bucks into Houston tonight to take on the new-look Rockets. James Harden joined by Russell Westbrook.
He just moved to Heuston, so he painted his house before
he's painting the town red.
He's painting his house before he got to work.
That is game one of our doubleheader, and then we come out here. We're out west as our opening week continues on the road, the land of cable cars and NBA championships. San Francisco, now the home of Chase Center. This is just a gem in the middle of the Mission Bay neighborhood of San Francisco. It's got the NBA's largest scoreboard at 9,500 square feet.
Wow.
It has got everything you could possibly want and well worth the $1.6 billion price tag.
Well,
all privately funded, by the way.
Well, number one, I really admire the Warriors because, these these professional sports owners have been ripping these fans off forever, making them pay for the arena. I admire the Warriors for doing their own thing.
You see,
that's the first thing. The second thing, Kevin Durant must have really hated Draymond to lead this thing.
Yes.
But this thing is awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's spectacular. We'll be showing it off as the night goes on. That's game two of our doubleheader. As we welcome you to San Francisco, everybody, Ernie Johnson here, along with Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet Smith.
Special guest.
Yes, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, is here. It's good to see you, sir. And we have much to talk about, and we will do that in 1 second. But we have to tell you why you're not seeing Shaquille O'Neal here on the set tonight. Basically, the big fella who I've described as the biggest kid in the world, his heart is breaking tonight. He said his world revolves around his brother and two sisters, and he lost one of his sisters this morning, far too early, at the age of 40, from cancer. Aisha Harrison Jex had been battling the illness for the last 3 years, and now Shaquille is back in Orlando to be with his family. She has a son, Bryce, and I'm trying to put into words the way Shaquille has reacted to this, and he's struggling. And when he struggles, we struggle with him because he's one of our brothers, and we feel for him tonight. Aisha graduated from FAMU. That's where she got her bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And she will be laid to rest in a military cemetery, and it'll be right next to Sergeant Philip Harrison. And you've heard Shaquille talk in the past about he's the man who made Shaq the man he is, and the professional he is, and the Hall of Famer he is. Hearts are breaking in Shaq's family and in our family as well. And it's tough to move on from that, but we will shortly. But this is real life stuff.
I want to say this. Obviously, Shaq has been our partner for a number of years, and we feel for him. But I want to just give a special shout out to his mom, Miss Lucille, who's best friends with my mom, and for 30 years. And when my mom passed away, she came and spent her last few days with my mom. So I just want to give Miss Lucille a hug and tell her I love her, and what she did for my mom at the end, her and Martha Carmen, the other triplet. And I can never thank them enough, and I feel for her and Shaquille, and the rest of the family also.
Yes, and Shaq has a lot of nicknames, the big Aristotle, Superman, but he's also the big family guy. We always see his kids, his family, always around. Difficult. One of the most difficult things about being close to someone and working with them this many years, you get to know them and their family and their friends. So you hurt so much more, just as much as you have the pain, just as much as you have the joy. And you get to experience both with them. And so that's part of being a family, experiencing the joy and the pain.
And I'll just add, we always talk about the NBA as a family. And it's, to your point, it's times like this when we're all together, and we've all known Shaq's mom, Lucille, since he came into the league, and I met his sister many times, so from everyone at the league. But obviously, from me personally, my condolences to Shaq. He's probably not watching, but to his family, and I know for all of you, you're hurting because you're all so close to each other.
Yeah. Big fella, you hang in there, and we move on. It's going to be an awkward transition to talk about that, which is so personal, to talk about the business of the league. which since October 4th has been very different for you, Adam. Where were you when you got news of the tweet or saw the tweet from Daryl Morey?
I first learned of the tweet when I arrived in Tokyo. I had been in Mumbai, where the Pacers and Kings, we had a very successful outing. Our first two games ever on Indian soil, we played in Mumbai, and then I was leaving then to join the Rockets in Tokyo, and we had a 8.5-hour flight or so, and there was no Wi-Fi on the flight. And so when I landed in Tokyo, I learned about the tweet, and at that point, it had already been deleted.
When did you contact Daryl Morey?
Daryl was staying in the same hotel I was in, so when I landed, I had a bunch of emails and texts from people on the Rockets and people in the league office, and I went to the hotel. I met with the president of the team, Tad Brown, and Daryl I didn't see initially. He was in his room, but we spoke at some point
And
early on.
what was the tenor of that? What did you say to Daryl Morey about the tweet that he put out there?
You know, I don't think it's appropriate to say specifically what I said to him, but at the point that I first spoke to Daryl, he had already deleted the tweet. Mm-hmm. So I would only say that, I mean, there was never a point when the league wasn't supportive of our values, of freedom of expression. That's something that long precedes me in the league. So there was no issue over that, but it was clear that there were going to be consequences. We had two other teams, the Lakers and the Nets, that were on the ground in Shanghai, and I was planning to join them in 3 days. So the issue, frankly, was less about Daryl at that moment and more about the two teams that we had on the ground in China.
But the league's initial response to that didn't indicate that. It was more of, this is regrettable, and you caught fire from all sides for that. If you had a do-over, Adam, what would the league's initial response been?
Well, I've said this already. I mean, if you know, and I think the tendency in this day and age is people can hardly get through an entire tweet, and right. We had more than a tweet. Our initial statement, what I said was regrettable, because we have hundreds of millions of fans in China, and it was absolutely clear we had upset them. And the league's initial statement, it wasn't mine, but the league's initial statement was that while we regretted upsetting our fans in China, we fully supported freedom of expression by members of the NBA family. I feel that initial statement was twisted to be read as an apology for having said the specific content of that tweet, and that's not what we said. We're a platform. We're a U.S. company. We're a platform for freedom of expression. I don't think it's inconsistent at the same time to be respectful of the countries that we do business in and the countries that we play in. So maybe I tried to too carefully thread that needle, which is why 2 days later, I then, of course, issued another statement.
Exactly.
And made it absolutely clear to anyone that had any doubt that we fully supported freedom of expression in this league, and I don't take back any regret about upsetting people. As I said, respect is a core value of this league, and these two former greats have traveled the world with me. We've been not just to China, but all over the world. As I said, we just came from India, and I think it's part and parcel of doing business in other places in the world and spreading this game, that you're still respectful while at the same time adhering to your values. And I just, let me finish by saying, I don't think trying to be diplomatic is inconsistent with those values.
3 weeks in now, after that original tweet, and today the Vice President, Mike Pence, brings up China and the NBA, and this is what he said.
And some of the NBA's biggest players and owners who routinely exercise their freedom to criticize this country lose their voices when it comes to the freedom and rights of the people of China. In siding with the Chinese Communist Party and silencing free speech, the NBA is acting like a wholly owned subsidiary of that authoritarian regime.
And Commissioner, your response to that?
My response is, as I've said, we've adhered to our core values from the first moment. To the extent that there was any doubt about that, we reinforced that those are our core values. And I'll just say, once again, we're going to double down on engaging with the people of China and India and throughout Africa, around the world, regardless of their governments. Certainly if we get to a point where the U.S. government tells us we shouldn't be doing business in certain territories or countries, we won't. But I'm a firm believer that through sports, independent of governments, you bring people together, they acknowledge that commonality, they create empathy, just in the way we began this show today, that through personal relationships, there's no substitute. And when this league for decades has been on the ground in China, spreading the game, teaching the values of this game, and again, I think those are core American values, and we've never wavered.
Well, let me say this. First of all, man, Vice President Pence needs to shut the hell up, number one. All American companies are doing business in China. All American companies are doing business in China. I thought the criticism of Commissioner Silver and LeBron James was unfair. Listen, Daryl Morey, who I like, he can say whatever he wants to, but there are consequences. But I don't understand why these holier than thou politicians, if they so want to worry about China, why don't they stop all transactions with China? President Trump has been talking about and been arguing with tariffs for China for the last 2 years. But I think it's unfair for them to do all their business in China, and just because this thing happened, try to make the NBA and our players look bad. All American companies do business in China, period.
Well, I'm not going to speak for you, Adam, or speak for anyone else but myself, and just how I viewed it, and you could afterwards kind of see if that's correct or incorrect on how you view it. How I viewed it was, I'm glad that Vice President Pence had an opportunity to say what that's the freedom that he has, to say what he wants to say and feel that way. In the same way Daryl Morey had the opportunity to do that. There's going to be conflicting messages. There's going to be conflicting things, especially when you're talking about possible social injustice when people feel that way. I don't see anything wrong with either party saying those things, but I think there has to be facts that back that up. So if you say that as Daryl Morey, you have to be factual. If you say that as Vice President Pence, you have to be factual, because what he said wasn't factual. Because from my point of view, from being in NBA for more than 4 decades, I look at it and go, well, that's the same as saying LeBron James couldn't speak about social issues here, and he has. And Carmelo Anthony and Chris Paul when they stood up and made those issues. The league has always been a proponent of that. From the players' social issues of free agency with Oscar Robertson. It's always been an ability to do that. And this is consistent with that, even if at times we all aren't in agreement. So I didn't see a silencing. I just saw a ability to use your platform as we always have. That's what I saw. And I don't know if that's accurate in your judgment.
I think it is. Freedom of expression also includes the right to choose not to speak. And I think these are complicated issues. And I think the fact that if you take particular players who've stood for important causes domestically, things that have been close to their heart, the fact that they may not be as knowledgeable about international issues and don't speak out on those issues, to me there's nothing inconsistent with the good works they've done in the United States. And I've always been the first to say to players about any issue, don't get trapped into talking about something that you don't feel you're knowledgeable about.
Yeah. Lastly for me on this, and we do want to move on to talk about the night that we have here in San Francisco. But Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, born in Taiwan, and says that, the hurt that's been done here will take a long time to heal. In what way can you explain to me and to the average basketball fan at home how the NBA has been hurt up to this point, and where are you in the healing process?
It's honestly, it's unclear, and it seems day to day. We are not back on Chinese Central Television. That's the government broadcaster in China, but we have a separate streaming service that we have a relationship with called Tencent, and we do have games back on Tencent. I think we all felt hurt for those of us who were there, the teams that were there. I mean, people saw those images on CNN and elsewhere. It was fairly dramatic to look out the hotel window and see giant billboards of NBA players being pulled down. And I think nobody's going to forget those images anytime soon. And so from a financial standpoint, I'm not sure. My hope is that it's somewhat still raw. I think in the NBA community in China as well, that we can work through it. I just step back and say that NBA first played in China in 1979. And we have roughly a 40-year history now of direct involvement. And I'm a firm believer that you can use basketball and all sports as a platform to bring people together. And given, I think the larger issue right now is the tension between the U.S. and China. That has absolutely nothing to do with the NBA. But so, to me, we need sports and basketball more than ever as an opportunity to build bridges in the community. So, so we'll see. It's too early to be specific.
So Adam, Commissioner.
Adam.
To me, this is a teaching moment, not just for general managers, but the players also. I hate social media. I will never use social media, but this is a teaching moment for, like I say, for Daryl and for all the players who use social media. You really have to be careful what you say today. We're in that situation. I mean, you see people getting in trouble for tweets they said when they were 15, 16 years old. But this is a teaching moment because every idiot and fool got an opinion now.
Yeah, just mean what you say and say what you mean.
Yeah, but no, Kenny, that sounds great.
No, my dad,
I understand that.
But my dad said to this meeting, he said, very rarely, if you don't take a picture you don't want to see again.
Yeah.
Don't say anything that you don't want to hear again. And if you live by that kind of guideline, it will help you initiate what you really believe
and that sounds good, but the bottom line is everybody wants your opinion, but they only want your opinion if they agree with you. There's all kind of causes that we could get on TV or tweet about. It could start a national uproar. But I'm saying, we're in that situation now when you're a celebrity, and like any idiot or fool can say anything. But when you are a prominent person in today's society, there's people just waiting for you to say something, and you have to be careful.
Yeah, let's, in the couple minutes we have left here with you, Mr. Commissioner, this place we're at today, as basketball returns to San Francisco, and as they say, this is the first real sports arena built in San Francisco. And what does it mean to you tonight to be here for this?
It's an incredible occasion. I'd say a long time in planning. Arena as well. It's state of the art in every possible way. I mean, to Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, and Rick Welts, who were the visionaries behind this. I think it's everything plus. I think the players are going to love it. Most importantly, there's a built-in practice facility here, and family rooms and media accommodations. I'm sure we'll be back here for an All-Star. I think from a league standpoint and for the community, it's a credible asset. Remember, for this community in San Francisco and the Bay Area, basketball will represent roughly, let's say, 50 nights with playoff games, but it'll be used 250 nights a year. It's going to be concerts, community events, graduations, political conventions. These truly are modern-day town halls, these arenas. I'm talking about speech. That's what these buildings are about. These are for people to come together and hear each other.
Right.
It's
great. We appreciate.
I'm just really glad that Alex. I want to give the Warriors kudos because, like I say, I think we've been professional owners been screwing the fans for 30 years, making taxpayers pay for these arenas. I got to give a shout out to the Warriors for doing their own thing and using their own money. Congratulations,
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for taking the time today to be here with us. We appreciate it very much. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Thank you, guys.
Clarity.
We will be coming back with more here on TNT NBA Tip-Off, presented by Auto Trader. Live from Chase Center here in San Francisco. Opening week 2019. Somebody does. Candace Parker joins the program.
Let's
now.
give it up for Candace Parker, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, very nice.
We are live.
Great to see you, Candace. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Be here with you guys.
So tell me how Harden Westbrook's going to work.
You know, I think it's going to work perfectly, honestly. I think Russell is at that point in stage of his career that he's ready to kind of move off the triple doubles and understand that triple doubles aren't going to win championships. And James Harden I don't think single-handedly anybody can stop him in the league. I like that system. I think the switch of Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook will be successful for Houston.
What's your biggest concern about that partnership?
I don't have a concern.
None at all.
I don't have one. I really believe that
you picked him to win a championship.
I picked him to win the NBA championship this year.
Oh, wow.
I think that if this system is going to work, these are the best two guys in the league at it, and as close as they came with Chris Paul. And if this was Chris Paul 6 years ago, it might have worked then. But this is the guy who can speed the pace up, that they couldn't do when James wasn't in the game all the time. They played at a slower pace. They will keep the pace going. They played together before when they had a third guy who was actually the first option in Kevin Durant, so they're going to be able to share the basketball. And the last thing I'd say, Ernie, the system allows you more shot opportunities. So there's guys who play 16 minutes that get 11 shots on the Rockets.
You know,
that's a different type of environment.
I've seen this look on Chuck's face a lot when he's taking in everything you're saying, and then there's this quizzical look like, well, I'm not really sure.
Well,
what are you not really sure of?
I'm not sure how this thing gonna work. Like, Ernie, it's easy to get on here. Like, I cannot wait to watch this. Like, yeah, anybody can say, well, it's going to work or it's not going to work. I don't know.
Or they can say, I don't know. Those are three things you can answer.
Because
those are the three things you can say, Shaq.
No,
Shaq's
because
what he said.
Russell might be my favorite player in the NBA. I admire him. I respect him. That guy, I've been in the NBA for over 30 years.
What's your concern?
Well, the guy plays harder than any basketball player I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know if he's going to be able to take a back seat to James, which he's going to have to, because if James don't have the ball, he ain't going to be doing nothing either. I mean, James is the greatest offensive player. He's not Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, but in today's NBA and his ability to shoot the threes, I've said this, James Harden is the greatest offensive player I've ever seen in today's NBA. He's amazing. But I mean, I call
Rockets get so many more shots, Chuck,
than
most other teams. So they take 30 more shots, period, because of the pace of the game. So it allows guys to have better statistical environments.
Well,
and it doesn't allow you to go, well, I don't have the ball.
And Russell's not a great three-point shooter.
Were you a believer in the Chris Paul, James Harden when they teamed up? Were you a believer in that 2 years ago?
Yes.
You were a believer.
And it almost worked. It almost worked. Remember, they were
aside from an injury and
they were
against
going
Golden
to the finals.
State. Yeah.
But see, Chris can play off the ball. He's a better shooter than Russ, and and I love Chris Paul's leadership ability. Like I say, I ain't casting. I don't know. I'm going to be watching these Rockets because I want to see.
Scale of 1 to 10. The chances that the Milwaukee Bucks return to the Eastern Conference Finals or beyond.
I actually believe they're going to take a huge jump. Watching Philly the other day.
I said that 1 to 10 scale.
Oh,
thing.
1 to 10.
Give me a number.
Okay.
Wait, you said finals or conference finals?
They're taking a jump. That means they're going to be in the finals, you think?
No,
I think they'll be in the conference finals. Are you saying
they were there
NBA
last year,
finals?
but you said a jump. Okay. So if they're making a jump.
Finals. Yeah.
They're in the finals.
Okay, let's say NBA Finals. Do you see them going to the NBA Finals?
No, she said no.
I don't see them going to
because
the
they not jumping. Did you hear what she
I don't see them going to the
Because you said, well, I watched those Philadelphia 76ers last night. That's what you sought to say, wasn't it?
I did.
Hey, Ernie, let me just tell you this. The Philadelphia 76ers.
guarantee.
Is this
Oh,
something
no.
I'm going to need to
I
write down?
It's
I
coming.
guarantee you. This is my first one of the year, America. I guarantee.
No, you had two guarantees the other night.
Which one?
The Pistons will be the number 4 seed, and Brooklyn won't make the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay, here's guarantee number 3.
The Philadelphia 76ers are going to the NBA Finals. They are going to the NBA Finals. Okay. Guaranteed.
I would say that, of course, they're a favorite, Ernie. I would say Philadelphia is a 9, and I would say the Bucks are a 9 out of a 10 chances of getting to the finals. They're both 9s. There isn't a distinct difference.
I love when Ernie write my
The
stuff.
distinct difference to me is that Antetokounmpo, his ability to take over the game and stay injury-free throughout his career has been the separating part. That even in the playoffs last year, they weren't totally healthy, Philadelphia. So if I had to move it, I'm going to go with Milwaukee.
Chucks, do you remember how much fun it was in the last week of the playoffs last year when we went back to the wall and looked at every Post-it note we had up there?
I did good.
Yeah, you did okay.
No, 50%.
You did okay.
I did.
Hey, for Chuck, 50-50 is not.
And but I bring home a C-, I'm going to beat them.
Hey, listen, might have made a C- though, but when I walk in the bank, that dude gets up and run toward me.
Yeah, it's okay.
He better run toward me.
Still,
better not make me walk all the way back to his office.
hey, look, it's hot. And in Chuck's defense,
it is hot. It is hot in California.
Then why aren't you sweating like that?
Because I'm always
White
cool.
people don't sweat like black people.
No, I am not sweating like that either.
Hey, Chester.
He's struggling.
Hey, Chester, it is hot in California.
Oh, it ain't that hot.
Yes, it is.
What's the
Come on,
victor,
man.
Vector? Anyway, we'll be back and we'll talk about the game you'll see later on tonight on TV. Any chance of that happening, Chuckster?
Yes, you know, hey, I'm big in the spa.
You
Hey,
big everywhere.
Ernie,
Oh,
I'm doubling down.
Doubling
The
down on
Warriors gonna barely make the playoffs.
Barely. You said would
gonna-
not. You
they
said
gonna-
no. You said they would not.
No.
You said would
The
not.
Warriors are gonna be 6, 7, or 8.
Oh, that's
That's not barely.
That's not barely.
If you say they're 8, that's
we
barely.
won the
Especially
championship
in the
from the sixth
West.
position.
They're gonna be 7 or 8. How about that?
No, you said why are you backpedaling now?
Well,
You're moonwalking
well,
better than Michael Jackson right now.
listen.
You told us in the green room and on live television that the Warriors would not make the playoffs.
In the elevator.
Well, when did he never said that on live TV that
Thank
they
you.
wouldn't make
Thank
it.
said that in the green
I
room.
said the
In the
Warriors,
green room, which is not
Warriors
live
are
TV.
gonna barely.
Thankfully.
Hey,
That's my live.
the Warriors gonna barely make the playoffs. I'm sticking to that.
So what? I mean, I don't know. I disagree.
Well,
I think that
we can disagree. Listen, I gave
barely made. I don't. think well, there's 11 teams or 12 teams that that make it to the playoffs.
they're
That's
one
saying they can make.
they're one of those bottom feeders trying to battle for that 8th
Wow. The Golden State Warriors
A bottom
referred to
feeder.
as a bottom feeder.
Hey, listen, man. You see these people out here?
Yeah, I know. We got.
They're not as little as loud as when KD's not in town.
Yeah, we've got some more business to do here.
They
Chuckster,
really
if
quiet.
it's
The
okay.
KD's gone.
The,
All right, let me tell you something. And when and they got that cyborg coming over here tonight too. He gonna send a message to y'all too.
What's the cyborg name?
Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
You saw what he did on Tuesday.
Yep, we were there, as a matter of fact. All right.
It wasn't no Taco Tuesday. It was I'm coming to your house and kick your ass Tuesday.
Hey.
That's what happened in L.A. Tuesday. It wasn't Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. No. I'm coming to your house and take your damn tacos, and that's what he did.
They got the whole enchilada. So anyway, Kevin Harlan's going to call the game tonight. Reggie Miller is with him, and working the sidelines will be Allie LaForce as the Clippers take on the bottom feeders, the Golden State Warriors. Allie, what you got?
Hey, Ernie, I have to follow that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, over the last 5 years, the Warriors and their fans, as we just saw from the roasting of Charles there, have been accustomed to championship-level rosters. But tonight, for the first time, marks what Steph Curry told me today he's calling the new era of Warriors basketball. He admitted it will be challenging, it will be an opportunity, and it will be real. So real and so new that in the beginning of the season, before practices started, he suggested this.
I joked. I said we should have some hello, my name is name tags for training camp just because we had so many new guys. But I think just more so for Coach and his staff being more teaching and kind of taking things a little bit slower than we usually do. Because you have to basically start from scratch with guys that are learning our offense, learning our defense, and just getting thrown into the fire. So. I think that'll hopefully encourage our development as we go.
And slow really is an understatement. 8 new players, only 2 of them are over the age of 26 years old. They have 3 rookies, and Steph knows that it'll be a challenge. It'll be day by day. All of that, you add in a new arena, and you have to think about the fact that every single player on this team now lives on this side of the bridge. So they uprooted their families. They're meeting each other for the first time. They're working in new terminology. So it's a new chapter in every single way for this Warriors team.
Allie LaForce, thank you so much.
They'll get to spend more time with their family once the playoffs start. Hey, Allie. Hey, Allie, you know I love you and your husband, Joe, who pitches for the Astros.
But
I talked to him today. He'll see you in 3 days.
hey, you can save that until I'm there in person and I can actually take you on.
Friends like you.
We got more.
That was a low blow. So anyway, Charles has had his say about the Golden State Warriors this year. So without Kevin Durant and with Klay Thompson out, what do you foresee? And is this a team that scrapes into the playoffs in the Western Conference?
I mean, the Western Conference is so deep. I see them as a 7 or 8 seed.
Thank you, Candace.
argued that in the elevator and said they would not make the playoffs,
Thank
though.
you,
so I will say,
and it's 7 or 8.
no, But it's just because the West is so deep. I mean, you lose Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, but then you, on top of that, lose two glue guys like Sean Livingston and like Andre Iguodala. I mean, people underestimate the impact that they made in the regular season and the experience they had in the playoffs, and you're adding a new system. So I think it's going to be tough. They're going to drop some early, but they do have Steph Curry, and everybody's forgetting that you're going to win 25 games just on the fact that you have Steph Curry.
Yeah. True or false, Kenny? Steph Curry leads the league in scoring this year.
Probably, it's going to be close to true. It definitely, he's going to be 1, 2, or 3. And I just dispel the whole,
notion.
This notion of bottom feeder, 7 or 8, only because of this. There's the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Rockets, who arguably could say they have the best player at their positions. They can argue and say, we got the best 2 guard, and we have the best 3. We have the best. Everyone else in the Western Conference, if you take Donovan Mitchell and you say Steph Curry, you take Dame Lillard and you say Steph Curry, you take anybody else.
How about if you're Denver and you say we got Nico Jokic?
And you go and you take Steph Curry, he hasn't carried the weight of what Steph Curry has carried. They're all in the same boat other than those 3 teams. So they could be 4 or 8.
You're being disrespectful to
who?
To Utah.
No, I'm not there disrespect because I think Draymond Green is a really good player.
He is a good player.
And he's just as good as their second best player on any team that I just named between Utah and Denver and Portland. He's just as good as C.J. McCollum and what he does for his team without question. So why are we having this notion that they're dwelling? I'm like 4 to 8. They're going to be 4 or 5 to me. They're going to be in that mix just like those teams in Utah and everyone else.
I'm going to give them a 7 or 8 out of respect. I really want to say they ain't going to make the playoffs.
Well, say it then. If
no.
you really want to say it,
You
say how
said
you
it,
really
Chuck.
feel. Say how you really feel. Don't tell us what you think about. Tell us what you. Let us hear it.
Just
Don't talk about it.
Don't do it,
Just
Chuck.
tweet
Don't
about
do it.
Just
Since you
because it
don't
crosses
tweet,
your mind, you don't have
tweet,
to be
you're not gonna
pressured
tweet it.
into.
Take a second.
Y'all ain't going to get me to tweet.
You're not going to tweet, so say it here.
The Warriors going to be a 7 or 8 seed.
There you go. Which is what I've already written down on the infamous Post-it pad.
That's not news.
That's
Wait, you said they're going to be 4?
I said there's no reason why they can't be because those teams don't have
you know
enough.
There'll be one game that separates 4 from 8.
There's a couple of reasons why they're not going to be in the first have home court. Lakers, Clippers, Denver, Utah, Rockets, Portland.
They're right in there with those other 4 to me.
That's game 2 of our doubleheader, by the way. The Clippers, 1-0, taking on the Golden State Warriors in their opener.
You get taco.
2019.
Hey,
This is what he's referring
What's up,
to.
y'all? Happy Tuesday. There's a lot of things been going on today.
Not feeling too well today.
Pretty down night right now.
Psych! 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 Y'all know what today is. Taco Tuesday!
well,
How do you guys love my t-shirt?
well, let me just say this.
Tuesday
Y'all need to
somewhere.
put
We got
Kawhi Leonard's pitch up there and say, psych! Because he went to your house on Taco Tuesday and took your tacos.
And dropped 30 on him, as a
Thank
matter
you.
of fact. And the Clippers are here tonight in game 2 of our double dip. What a beautiful postcard
Man, that's
it
a
is.
postcard. Yeah.
Here from San
San
Francisco.
Francisco's not
We'll be
that
back.
good looking. Trust me, I walked around today.
Oh, you tripping.
Stay.
Got to take a picture.
Hello.
Ledlow, Parker.
I tell you what, y'all are 2 beautiful women.
Thank you, Chuck.
That
Will
is-
you subscribe to
No,
the
no,
podcast?
I don't listen to
This is not
Oh,
camera.
come on. You got to
the
do that.
podcast.
There are a lot of good podcasts out there, man.
Dude, you're on there. You're
Ernie,
on.
I got a life. I got
You were
stuff
just
to
on a
do.
podcast today.
But you go places, too. You can listen to them when
You were just
Just
on
on a
one
podcast.
today.
That was Conan O'Brien. Shout out to Conan
You were
O'Brien.
Dang, so you're not going to subscribe to my podcast?
just
but you
on
can be
his.
on a podcast?
I did it for Conan O'Brien.
He's a
part of
walking
the family.
contradiction. Don't worry.
So
You know
I'm not
what?
A part of I'm not a part of the family?
Oh, my bad. That didn't come out like a minute to.
I feel like I've intercepted a correspondence between Allie and Joe Smith and the Chuckster. With Joe Smith, Joe Smith says, "I'm listening to you talk. Doesn't worry me a whole lot because you're usually wrong."
Joe! Joe!
Exactly.
Listen, let me tell you something, Joe. I love you. Your wife is great and she's talented. Well, let me tell you something. Max Scherzer, Strasburg, Ooh, them boys are balling. Listen, my man, I'm just telling you. I'm happy for my man Zimmerman. I'm happy
Ryan
for
Zimmerman,
Ryan
yes.
Zimmerman, who's been in Washington his whole career. I'm happy he's going to finally get a ring. But man,
It's 2-0.
hey,
The series is 2-0.
Oh no, it's 4-0. It's 4-0.
Okay.
They lost to. All right, Mac. Listen, I got to meet Max Zimmerman.
Clutch City.
Max
He doesn't-
Scherzer.
he forgot
I
about
told you I
Clutch
want to
City.
meet Max
Max
Scherzer.
Scherzer's
we
That
do
dude's a
got you.
bulldog.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
still in your corner, Houston. Clutch City.
Hey, let's take a look at a few things that happened on Wednesday night because, like what 11 games on the slate last night, and among those,
Feel free to pass the ball every now and then.
Kyrie Irving dropped 50
Oh yeah, that's because he shot it every time.
and 8 rebounds, 7 assists, no
Pass the ball,
turnovers.
Kyrie. I like you, man. Pass the ball.
He went 17 for 33 and 7 for 14 from deep,
Best debut.
but they lost 127-126 in OT to Minnesota.
Come on, man. Pass the ball.
Kenny, your thoughts?
I mean, impressive. I mean, his ability to a shot maker. You know, that was when he was with LeBron. LeBron had moments where he would just say, "You got these next 7 possessions," and that's that's what he had.
37. Who did we play that night? Gave it to somebody.
92. I'm not sure.
Andre Drummond at Indiana last night.
But let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Brooklyn got better players. He don't have to go one-on-one all those times. Brooklyn got good, solid players. When they get KD back, they're going to be a handful. But he got to incorporate those other players in the offense. That's the only problem I had. Yeah, 50 points, that's a lot of points.
But they're not a playoff team in your mind.
They're not. They lost. You don't earn
I know, but if they've got all those other good players around Kyrie, then why wouldn't they be a playoff team?
Because he wasn't passing it to him. They watched him.
One game, dude.
Hey, that was.
Let's move on to Andre Drummond, because this is a team you really like, the Detroit Pistons.
This is my team. I got them the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. This dude's a monster, y'all.
32 and 23.
That's the first one since, that beat me. Yeah, I do.
Way to read your own graphic.
No, I'm just telling you.
I know.
I like Drummond. This is my sleeper team.
Hey, let's see PJ Washington. We're trying to kind of rip through these.
PJ, known him since high school.
Yeah, and did you know we had this kind of three-point ability?
Well, I mean, he did it against non-pros. I didn't know if he could do it against the NBA's best. And
I was very impressed with PJ Washington.
He's solid. He reminds me, Chuck, of David, who used to play here. Oh man, why am I going blank?
David who?
West. David West.
Oh no, David West did not have that type of range.
How about this from Coach Cal, though?
Play.
He said he took 21 threes his freshman year and made 5. Came back last season, made 33 of 78. Now he holds the NBA record for threes in the debut.
Well, he finally got him a good coach now. That's very easy. He finally got him a good coach.
Any opportunity that we can give Chuckster to take a shot at Coach Cal, yeah.
I love Cal. Finally got some coaching. He's a hell of a player.
We will come back with more tip-off of pro. Get into that competition at BR
You got the mid Jordans.
Yeah.
The mid Jordans on.
That's amazing. That's the one thing we got to thank Michael Jordan for.
You know what?
The best.
I like to do that every now and then because I see all these fire emojis on my
you're fire right now
Twitter
because you got the
timeline.
mids.
Yeah.
The mids made him fire. Most people don't know Michael used to play in mids in college.
And you would know because you were right there with him.
Bringing in water.
Hey,
come on, bro. You check my stats, brother.
You know what?
I don't have to argue that.
You know, they got 8 kitchens in Chase Center. 8 kitchens in there.
8 kitchens?
Yes, indeed. Mark Jeffers is here. He's the culinary director. And Bianca Montillo is the pastry chef.
Ooh, that's why she's my favorite.
What do you got out here for us, Mark?
Man.
So we wanted to bring out a different sampling of some of the things we have to offer here at Chase Center, starting with the barbecue, classic dish here. This is actually a tribute to Nate Thurman. So he had a barbecue joint in the city here for years. We worked with his wife to sort of resurrect some of his recipes.
Wow.
And so this is actually his brisket sandwich and pulled pork sandwich, which is really great to bring on and showcase. We've got our lobster rolls from Sam's Chowder House down there.
What's the jet eating right here?
So we heard Kenny appreciated some vegan food.
I do appreciate
So we got some Impossible Foods lumpia. So it tastes like beef, but it's completely vegan. It's Filipino style spring roll.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I brought Bianca out here because we're doing some incredible things with pastry. All these things are made from scratch in the arena. So what do we have, Bianca?
We have lemon bars.
My personal favorite.
Slide that down.
We have donuts. We also have cheesecake, s'mores, and churros from Tacalicious.
Churros?
Oh, it's got some churros.
Chuckster.
Oh, it's got some churros.
Churros
That's
from San
right
Antonio.
That's right up your alley.
Eat
right
your heart,
there, man.
Eat your heart out,
Jack,
San
you gonna
Antonio.
share?
Thank you all
Share,
very
Jack?
much for the
Kenny, give me one of those
hospitality.
Of course,
churros.
we're
San
recognizing
Antonio.
30-year
man.
anniversary for
Thank
your
you, San
show.
Antonio.
So congratulations for that. We got a
Thank
cake
you.
for you.
I appreciate that, Mark.
course, of
Thank you
course.
very much.
Thank y'all.
Greek Freak and the Bucks taking on the Rockets. Game 1 of our double dip.